Magalekela go to Makite o. Magalekela go to Makite o. Magalekela go to Makite o.
Hello, hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Madeline, and on my channel I go by Binti Madeline. And if you're here, of course you want to know what are some of the things I wish I knew when I was a freshman in my first year at UBC. So my name is Madeline. I'll just do a short intro if it's your first time here. I'm currently going into my fourth year at UBC. I'm majoring in international relations. However, I did do my first year in engineering, and I've been here for, like, I'm not a transfer student, so I did all my 3 years have been at UBC, and now I'm going into my fourth year. And just a little bit about me: I'm not originally from Vancouver. I'm not even originally from Canada. I am from East Africa, Tanzania, and I moved here for school. And yeah, thanks for coming to my YouTube channel. Please remember to subscribe and watch this video until the end to find out what is like the housing trick I wish I knew, or like I would tell my friends if they were to go back to their first year and they were looking for housing. Because if you've been on UBC Reddit, if you're UBC OG, you know finding housing is not for the weak. It's not for the weak. When it comes to Vancouver, housing prices are high, and if you are studying at UBC, you definitely want to get UBC housing. You want to live on campus because it's just so convenient and it makes things a lot smoother, especially when it's like summer. Like right now, everyone's looking for housing. You don't want to have that stress on your back. So stay till the end to find out this housing trick. I'm not gonna reveal it, but if you watch till the end, I'm gonna say what you need to know or what I wish I knew. But I have a few tips and like a few things that I wish I knew. If I'm looking down, I'm just looking at my phone. I have it on my notes. It's a little bit, like a lot, not even a little bit of notes, but I've basically divided it into 3 parts. I have the school portion, which of course you're going to uni, so you're coming here to do school. You're not coming, like, yeah, as much as you're coming for other things, the main thing is school. So I have advice for school. I have advice for self, because as much as like you're here to do school, you're also here to grow and discover who you are. So I have advice for self, and I also have a few tips I wish I knew in terms of career in my first year. And the career portion is, I have like 2 career tips, just because it's your first year. So do not stress yourself too much when it comes to your career, like, you know. Anyway, let's get into it. It's already a 3-minute intro. I don't know why, but first things first, do Jumpstart. Like, I cannot stress this enough. Whether you're, especially if you're an international student or a commuter student, I'd say do Jumpstart, absolutely. Just because that's where you will get to make most of your friends. And in Jumpstart, they divide you up based on your faculty, so it makes things so much easier. So if you're doing engineering, if you're doing science, if you're doing arts, that's the best time to make friends within your faculty, because these are the people you're gonna be taking classes with. These are the people you're gonna be seeing in classes, especially when it comes to engineering. In engineering, you have a standard timetable, so these are definitely people you're gonna come across in most of your classes day to day. Or if you're not doing engineering, especially if you're doing arts, I would say do Jumpstart, because arts is the biggest faculty at UBC. Like, you might see this person, you might never see them. So just like go to Jumpstart. It kind of relieves the pressure, and like if you do end up seeing them in another class, well and good. If you don't, then at least you have a connection with someone, because arts is so huge. And I personally think people who do arts at UBC are the most, like, the friendliest by far, at least the people that I've met who are in arts. So make friends with arts folks, even if they're not in your group, like your Jumpstart group. Jumpstart is just like a really good orientation and a really good time to learn about campus, make friends, connect. It's like the week before school starts, before it's like university without like how you see on Grownish and like all these shows where they don't actually have to do the studying. That's that, yeah. Kind of shows you like all the fun, good stuff about uni without the educational stress, which why won't you do it? Why won't you do it? I actually I was thinking of having my friend who also did Jumpstart and was a Jumpstart orientation leader last year to come to my channel and talk about Jumpstart and just like some of the tips and tricks and stuff that you should know for Jumpstart. Let me know down in the comment section if it's something you would like. Yeah, I would say definitely do Jumpstart. I don't know why I'm promoting UBC Jumpstart. UBC, pay me. Pay me. Why am I doing free promo for you guys? But anywho, never mind. So and then I'm gonna move on to like school advice. So for school, I would say whether you do Jumpstart or not, the first thing I would do for school, like the first piece of advice I have, is find where all your classes are going to be before school starts. Because let me tell you something, UBC is a huge university. If you try to find your classes on the same day that like let's say you have a class at 11 and you're trying to find your class at 10:30, you might end up lost. Not like there's a huge chance if you're new on campus you will end up lost just because it's such a huge campus. There's so many buildings. Even if you're like in the right building, you might not be in the right block. Like let's say the Buchanan building, there's block A, B, C, D. So you might be in Buchanan, but you're in a different block. And now your class has started and you've missed your class. Why do you want to stress yourself? And especially for your first, you want to be in class like early or like at least on time. You don't want to be rushing to class on your first week. You just want to be like chill and zen and like ready to listen to the prof. So it's also making a good first impression with your prof. So yeah. The second piece of advice is, and I cannot stress this enough, is read your syllabus. Guys, read your syllabus. Let me tell you something. In high school, you could just like pass through that syllabus, like not even read it, child. Be like, never mind, what is this? But in uni, especially at UBC, make sure you read your syllabus. That's where everything is. That's where you're gonna learn if you miss a test, what's gonna happen, if how much you should study. I mean, I don't know if I should be saying this, but it's like I try to be like optimal and like effective. So if like let's say an assignment is worth 10% and another one is worth 30%, you don't want to be spending your whole energy and time on the 10% assignment while you could be working harder on the 30% one. So it kind of helps you be more optimal about your time and choosing what you're going to spend your energy on. Just read your syllabus. It really reduces a lot of stress. It also tells you like what the prof is expecting, like what type of assessments are you going to do. I know like mostly in arts we have courses that don't have like they have final papers instead of like final exams. You're gonna find out all that information in your syllabus. And I think that I'm not a huge fan of when it comes to like UBC is that they don't release the syllabus like earlier in advance. Like why? It's so unnecessary. Like it would be, which I kind of understand because like profs are also human beings and they're trying to live their lives, but I wish it was just like a bit earlier so then you could plan everything. But yeah, I think the syllabus comes in like September, like first week of class. You should have like your syllabus for like all your classes, and I mean like all your classes for term 1. So term 2 syllabus will come out like in the first week of classes in term 2. So yeah, so just make sure you're reading your syllabus. And the first week of school is usually very slow pace, so you have time to like really hone in on your syllabus and know how much time you're dedicating towards something. If you need to start prepping for like a paper or like research in advance, you'll find out all that good stuff in your syllabus. So read your syllabus, folks. Read your syllabus. Another thing would be, after you read your syllabus, make sure you make a study guide. Make a study guide. I don't care if you use Notion, if you use Excel, just have these like tools in place. If you use like a diary, if you like to have to-do lists, just make a study guide. I know it's like earlier in advance, and the first few weeks of classes seem like really chill. You're like, what am I studying? Like, I don't have a lot to study. Let me tell you something. By the time it gets to like third and fourth week, you will be thanking yourself you had a study guide, because that's when things start going fast, and that's when like profs are starting to like prepare for midterms and stuff. So you want to be on top of things. You want to be on top of things from the beginning, because in the middle you don't have time. Like, it's it's actually good and sad, because I don't think profs care, but like you have 4 classes, and like as a high school student, it's your first time kind of like managing your time and doing everything by your own. So please have a study guide, have like a schedule, a routine of like when you're studying. I had this academic advisor once who told me, like, being in school is your full-time job. So make sure you're spending 35 hours a week doing school. And like, I was like, okay. Like, it didn't hit me until it did hit me that it's actually a full-time job. Being a student is a full-time job. So even though I know like for most classes you'd be having personally, I like taking, like, I find that a good balance per term is taking 4 classes each term. Taking more than 4 classes on your first year, I wouldn't recommend personally. I think you're stretching yourself really thin, especially since first year is like when you're trying new things out. I wouldn't recommend taking more than 4 courses per term. I know you have to finish, like, for arts you have to finish like 30 credits per year, but it's not a must. Imagine, it's not a must. You don't need to rush. Take, if you can help it. I know like there's like financial implications, there's student loans and all that, but if you can help it, I feel like take four courses each term, and then you can just do the 2 during the summer if you can, if you really like want to finish the whole 30 credits. And then for my engineering folks, honestly, I don't know what to tell you, because those 37 credits, you have to finish them in your first year. Actually, you don't have to finish. If you want me to do like a vlog about like engineering and like things I wish I knew as a first year engineering student at UBC, just leave it in the comments, because that's a whole episode on its own. But leave it in the comments, and then I might do a video about it, because yeah. But I would say take 4 courses, and when you're taking 4 courses, it's like a good balance. I don't remember where I was going with this 4 courses points, but let me continue. And then another thing I wish I knew is go to office hours. Office hours will save your ass. Let us repeat that. Office hours will save you. They will save your grades. Go to office hours, ask the questions. I know it can be intimidating going to office hours, but the prof is there to help you. The prof is literally there to help you. So make sure you use up office hours. If you have a question, if like there's something you didn't understand and like you were scared to raise up in class, just note it down, and then you can ask it on office hours, or you can ask it at the end of class. But make sure you go to office hours. Not only is it like helpful in terms of like understanding stuff, but you also get to build a connection one-on-one with your prof, which can come in handy if you're looking for, like, let's say if you're thinking of going to grad school, or it's something you're really interested about, like let's say you're taking a psych 101 or 102 course. This is like a prof you might run into again. So go to office hours, build those relationships, and profs, I've met some like really incredible profs, so please go to office hours. And then another thing I would say when it comes to school is make sure you have at least two friends in each of your classes. Like, let's say if you're taking a psychology class, and then you're taking another like music class, and then for instance you're taking another, I don't know, English class. Make sure you have two friends in each of your classes. Like for engineering, I think it's really easy because you have a standard timetable and you literally have the same people in all of your classes, so you just need like your two friends and then that's it. But when it comes to arts, you have different people in all of your classes, arts and sciences. So I would say make sure you have two friends in each of your classes. It will come in handy in case you miss a day, in case you need like help with notes, or there's something you didn't understand. Those friends will help you to like study together, discuss, so just have friends. You never know, especially during like my first year was like during COVID, and my second year was like a bit of COVID. So if you caught COVID, if you got sick and you missed those classes, having a friend there helps a lot. Another thing I would say is, it's related to school, but it's also related to self and career. So I put it towards the end, is like, if you can help it, don't work during your first year. I would not recommend working either part-time or full-time, any job during your first year, just because first year is a huge transition. Like, you're moving from high school to starting to be like an independent adult. Working at the same time as like you're trying to figure out like school and like being in first year, I do not recommend. And this is a piece of advice I was given, and I was like, I could work, like, no, I can do it. But I'm so thankful that I didn't work, because my first year was just like so chaotic, and I, like, looking back, I had no time, no space to fit work in, and things would have just been all over the place if I did. But I wouldn't recommend anyone in first year to work, to like do a part-time job as they're in first year, because you're just like trying to figure out a lot. So I wouldn't recommend it. But if you must work, because I also understand there's folks who have like student loans, and affording to live in Vancouver is just insane. It's beyond me. I don't know. I don't know how people do it. I don't know. So if you must work, I would say apply for a work learn. And work learns, you can go to UBC careers online. These are jobs that are only open to students at UBC, and it's basically a part-time job, and it's 10 hours a week during the winter and fall, which is really helpful. And most of them pay above minimum wage, and it's only 10 hours a week. And I would say these ones specifically because they're like UBC jobs, so they understand that you're a student. They kind of take into account that you will have like midterms and finals, and you can, for the most part, at least the ones that I've worked, you can communicate to your manager like, hey, I have an exam, this and that, and they'll give you like time and like space to do that. So yeah, if you really must work, then do a work learn for 10 hours a week. But beyond that, honestly, I wouldn't recommend. It's just a lot. And then that's all when it comes to like school stuff. I am going to enter the self portion. When it comes to self, I would say in your first year, take care of yourself. This is your first time, for most people, at least for me, it was my first time being away. Actually, it wasn't my first time being away from my family. It was my first time being like very far away from my family, and just being like a fully grown adult and making my own decisions and all that. So take care of yourself. Think twice before you do things. If you know that if your mom saw you doing whatever you're doing, she would not approve, or like she would like lose her mind, don't do it. Like, think twice before you do stuff. Because this is a quote by Michelle Obama that I heard, is that every single day you're practicing who you want to be. So the decisions you make, I know, no matter how small they are, it's you practicing and training yourself that this is the type of person you want to be. So I would say show yourself love and compassion, because first year and like just being a freshman can be really tough. But give yourself like love, compassion, and just be empathetic to yourself, and be responsible also, be responsible. Another thing I would say is make friends, be social. I know when it comes to Vancouver, a lot of people have said it's like a very isolating city and it's hard to make friends. But imagine if you're in university, this is like the best time to make friends. That's why, again, I recommend Jumpstart. That's where you will make friends, most of your friends, because you don't have the academic stress. You're also excited to be starting uni. So just like be yourself, make friends, put yourself out there. It's really gonna be fun, and it's gonna be okay. In the end, everything's going to be okay. Another thing I would say is, if you can, document your experience. Document your experience, because it will actually help you when you're looking back and be like, oh my gosh, I did this, I did that. So document your experience so that you have something positive to look back on, and like your progress. Like, I've read some of my, because I usually journal, I've read some of the things I wrote when I'm in my first year, and I'm just like, damn, like what, like just seeing the growth, it's inspiring and it leaves me in awe. I'm like, how was I able to do that? Like, how? So if you can document it, whether it's like through vlogs, through journaling, any form of like documenting for yourself, I would say I would recommend. And then don't lose sight of yourself. It's very easy to lose sight of yourself when you're away from like everything you know, and when you're trying to figure out who you are without what you're used to, like your family, your high school. So try not to lose sight of like who you are as you're trying. It's like really difficult, because you're at the same time you're trying to figure out who you are, but keep in touch with like your core values of like who you are. And I would also say try new things. I know I'm personally not a party person. I just I don't draw my energy out of like big crowds and like big groups. But hey, go for a block party, you know? Try it once or twice. Like, I've tried things like once or twice and I'm like, yeah, no, this is not for me. But give things a chance, try new things, discover who you are, because if you don't try new things, you're never gonna know like what type of person you are, or like what type of things you like. I would also say, on the note of things being it like university being hard and your first year being tough, I would say UBC does offer decent, I want to say really good, but I was like, who am I kidding? They could do better. UBC does offer decent medical packages, like health and dental, through the AMS, that's a alma mater society. So I would say, if you're feeling that your first year is tough and like you need direction, or you just need to talk to someone, honestly, use up your mental health benefits. I know, like, at least for the school year, last academic school year, it was $1,250 towards seeing a therapist or like a psychologist. Mostly therapists. Don't quote me on like psychiatrist, psychologist stuff, but I know you have up until $1,250 to see a therapist, or like mental health practitioners basically. So if you're struggling, or if you need someone to talk to, or if you just need direction, literally use that up. You don't have to see, I know UBC does have its own mental health, like UBC counseling. You can use that, but I haven't used it, and I've heard from people who have used it that there is like long wait times and all that. So you can literally just go on the AMS, like, or you can go like find a therapist and stuff, and just like go and see them, and then you can submit a reimbursement form and they will reimburse your money. So just see a therapist. I personally I'm a mental health advocate. I think everyone should have a therapist. Even if you think you don't have a problem, trust me, you need to see a therapist. It will help you one way or the other. And I don't know if you can hear the noise, but my roommate is in the kitchen. So anywho, moving on. When it comes to self, I'm gonna put this here and not like towards the end, but apply for housing. This is really big in your first year. I would say, in fact, if you're watching this video and you're not from Vancouver and you haven't applied for housing, you're already late, but there's still hope. Apply for housing now. Submit your housing application for like second year, whether it's like year-round housing, winter housing, submit it right now. Just because finding housing is hectic. It's hectic. I've seen people struggle with homelessness. People, like, school is starting and they don't know where they're gonna live. So apply for housing immediately, like right now. Go and submit your UBC housing application. In fact, I will tell you this much: if you're submitting like year-round or like winter housing application, personally, I would not recommend. Actually, let me keep it to myself. But there's some residences which I would not recommend. But housing is housing. But if you can submit, I would say put your options, if you can afford it, for studios, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. I mean, obviously depending on your budget, but I found like living alone is also like helpful. So do what works for you and like your budget, but apply for housing. Now, for my folks who have not applied for housing, and maybe you've applied like a day or two before and like your waitlist numbers are crazy, don't panic. It's okay. If you haven't applied for housing, this is the housing trick that I would use. So first year students have housing guaranteed for their first year. You just need to accept your offer. So if you already have first year housing and you don't have housing for like your second year and like you were late to apply, that's totally fine. I'd say once you get your residence, build a really good relationship with your residence advisor. So for first year students, each floor you're gonna have a residence advisor. Build a good relationship with them. Ask them how they got to become an RA. Get pointers from them. When applications to become a residence advisor open up in December, apply to be a residence advisor. Apply to be a residence advisor because residence advisors get housing. And not right now at UBC, they're all unionized. So once you become a residence advisor, you can literally keep becoming a residence advisor throughout your whole degree, which, unless you do something to, something you're not supposed to do, and then you have to resign from your position. But unless otherwise, I'd say be an RA. If that doesn't work, of course, always have a backup. If, like, let's say becoming an RA is not an option, join your council. So for UBC, there's 3 residences. There's Place Vanier, there's Totem, and there's Orchard. Join your council. So each residence community has its own council, like Place Vanier council, whatever. I don't know what they call themselves, PVC RA or something. Join your council. So council is basically every year, like UBC has like a residence community council, and they kind of like decide the budget of how much they give RAs to run events. But if you're part of the council in your first year, let's say, it's easy to reapply in like your second year. And if you're part of council, you can be in your second year and be a part of the council and get housing. Like, let's say if you're like the council president for Totem, or like council president for Orchard, or like you have cabinet position in council, like, I don't know, treasurer, whatever, you can get housing. But the thing with like being part of council is that you can only, after your first year, it has to be in the residence community. Like, let's say if you lived in Place Vanier, then you would be in your second year, you'll be part of council in Place Vanier if you got to like get the votes and all that. So apply to be a member of council, and you would also need to be present for training and all that good stuff. But it's not that deep. If you're getting housing, like your housing is already tough as it is, so you got nothing to lose honestly by being part of council. So apply, and I think it's like a position where you have to like be voted into, but trust me, it's easy because most people don't know about it. So apply to council, apply to RA. Those are my two tricks I would give you if you want to live in residence and you're just not sure about your chances of getting year around or winter housing. Apply to council, apply to be an RA. If you want me to make a more detailed video of like how to apply to council and how that situation works, just leave it down in the comments below. When it comes to career, I have two pieces of advice. The first one would be join clubs that you're passionate about. So I know at UBC, I think school opens on September 6th and September 5th is a public holiday, but that's also Imagine Day. And in Imagine Day, all along like main mall, they set up like tables and stalls for clubs. There's like I think 200 or more clubs at UBC that you could join. So get to learn about the clubs. It doesn't have to be like a more career oriented club. It could be just like a fun club, like a tennis club or badminton or like dancing club, whatever you're passionate about. You also get to make friends there, and it would be fun, just like something to ease the tension, remove the stress while you're doing school, something fun like in school, but like you get to hang out with your friends, but it doesn't have to be that deep about school. So I personally was a member of, well, not in my first year, but like I did attend some events of the UBC AAI. So that's like the African Awareness Initiatives. It's mostly African students. And there's also the BSU, that's like the Black Students Association. So if you identify as Black, reach out to those organizations. It like not organizations, sorry, reach out to those clubs. It will be really helpful, and you'll get to make friends, attend cool events. Yeah, and I was also a part of, which is like more career oriented, I was a part of the UBC 180 degrees consulting, just because I wanted to get into consulting. So you could also join that club. It was fun. Yeah, say join clubs. You have nothing to lose. This is like the best time to do it in your first year. Join the club. If you want, you can be like get like a position in the club. I'd say though, for your first year, don't start getting like a president position or like vice president. I feel like that's a lot to handle. Get a position that requires you to be like maybe 1 hour to 2 hours commitment per week. That like, you know, low commitment, but like you're still there and still interacting with people. Lastly, when it comes to career, I would say start thinking about your career in terms of setting your grades right. So this is actually a piece of advice that I got from my friend, and they were telling me how in their first and second year they were basically working to build their grades right. This is a person who was not thinking of going to grad school. They just wanted to get an internship and like be set up when it comes to like the work world. And they're like, in my first and second year, I solely focused on my grades, and then by the end, like when they were wrapping up their second year, they were looking for internships. They didn't want to do co-op or any of that, so they ended up getting an internship by the end of their second year. And then I don't know, I mean, I'm gonna say this, and then they were like, on my third and fourth year, I didn't care about my grades because like they already had that one good internship that set them aside. And they were like, yeah, they still cared about their grades, of course, but like they didn't grind as hard as they did in their first and second year, just because they already had like the resume to show for it. It's not good, like I'm not advocating for you to slack off in like your third and fourth year, but yeah, you have to like a good first impression matters. So first and second year, not to say that if you mess up in like your first and second year, they like employers or like grad school won't understand. You still have a chance to redeem yourself, but you probably want to start thinking about like your career, your grades, whether you want to go to grad school, what do you want to do in the future. You want to start setting yourself up right now. But yeah, folks, that's all the advice I have in terms of like what I wish I knew as a freshman. But if you have any more questions about things you want to know about UBC, things you wish you knew, if you want me to do an international student tips and tricks, like things I wish I knew, or just like talk about my experience being from Tanzania, Africa, and like moving to Canada as an international student, all you have to do is leave it in the comment section below and I'll respond or do a video about it. But yeah, thanks for watching. Bye. See you in my next video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.